Remember the Stoic rule that to be governed by our passions is to be a slave, to be governed by reason is to be free. Epictetus wisely said, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." This simple yet powerful advice invites us to live authentically, letting our lives be the testament to our beliefs rather than mere words. Every change brings lessons. We cannot remake ourselves without suffering, for we are both the marble and the sculptor. While we dream of greatness, we often overlook a fundamental principle. True transformation requires sacrifice. Have you ever felt like life is a constant struggle, filled with unnecessary stress, clutter, and noise? The world we live in today is louder than ever, with endless distractions pulling us in every direction. But what if I told you that by quietly eliminating certain things from your life, you could unlock greater clarity, peace, and purpose? Number 1, eliminate toxic relationships. You've probably heard the phrase, "You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with." This idea underscores how much influence those around us have on our mindset, emotions, and behaviors. Toxic relationships, whether it's with friends, family members, or even co-workers, drain our energy, chip away at our confidence, and keep us trapped in a cycle of negativity. When you surround yourself with people who constantly criticize, manipulate, or engage in passive-aggressive behavior, it becomes nearly impossible to maintain a healthy mindset. Toxic individuals often take more than they give, leaving you feeling emotionally and mentally drained after every interaction. Evaluate your relationships. Pay attention to how you feel after spending time with someone. If you consistently feel drained or unhappy, it may be time to create distance. Set boundaries. You don't have to cut people off completely, but you can limit the time and energy you give to those who bring negativity into your life. Seek uplifting connections. Surround yourself with people who inspire you, support your growth, and encourage your well-being. Look for relationships where there is mutual respect and understanding. Learn to say no. Saying no to toxic interactions is a form of self-care. You don't owe anyone your time or emotional energy if it comes at the cost of your well-being. Remember, by protecting your peace, you allow yourself the space to thrive. It's important to recognize that toxic relationships aren't always obvious. Sometimes the negativity is subtle, disguised as backhanded compliments or underhanded remarks. Over time, however, the impact becomes clear: decreased self-esteem, increased stress, and a lingering sense of doubt. The Stoics teach us that while we cannot control how other people act, we can control how we respond and who we choose to give our energy to. Quietly eliminating or distancing yourself from toxic relationships is an act of self-respect and personal growth. One of the biggest challenges in eliminating toxic relationships is the fear of conflict or feeling guilty for creating distance. Many people hesitate because they worry about hurting others or being perceived as unkind. However, prioritizing your mental health is not selfish, it's necessary. The Stoics remind us that we are responsible for our own well-being, and sometimes that means making difficult decisions. By quietly stepping back, you not only protect your own peace, but also model healthy boundaries for others. By taking this step, you open up space for more positive, supportive relationships that uplift you rather than tear you down. The people you allow into your life should encourage you to be your best self and support your goals, not hinder your progress. Eliminating toxic influences isn't about holding grudges or burning bridges. It's about creating a healthier environment for your mental and emotional well-being. Furthermore, when you remove toxic individuals from your life, you often find that you gain clarity and emotional resilience. You become better equipped to handle life's challenges without the added burden of unnecessary negativity. Number 2, eliminate unnecessary comparison. Comparison is a thief of joy. Comparison and competition with family members can be especially toxic, as it often creates an atmosphere of tension and resentment. Family dynamics are complex, and when comparison becomes a regular part of these relationships, it can lead to long-term emotional strain. Whether it's sibling rivalry, parental expectations, or extended family gossip, constantly measuring yourself against relatives can undermine your confidence and erode the trust within the family unit. The pressure to live up to family expectations or to outperform others can result in feelings of inadequacy even when you've accomplished much in your own right. This form of comparison is particularly harmful because family relationships are supposed to provide support, encouragement, and unconditional love. When competition takes precedence, the warmth and connection within these bonds begin to deteriorate. Furthermore, comparing yourself to family members can lead to unhealthy behaviors such as seeking external validation, overworking to prove your worth, or even distancing yourself from loved ones altogether. The Stoics remind us that each individual has a unique path shaped by their own circumstances and choices, and attempting to measure your worth against another's journey is both unproductive and mentally exhausting. Eliminating this toxic comparison doesn't mean withdrawing from your family or ignoring their successes. Rather, it means recognizing your own value independently of others' achievements. By focusing on self-growth and internal satisfaction, you can strengthen your sense of identity while fostering healthier family relationships built on mutual respect rather than rivalry. Remember, your goal isn't to be better than your relatives, but to be the best version of yourself. With social media constantly showcasing everyone's highlight reel, it's easy to fall into the trap of measuring your worth against someone else's success. The Stoics remind us that true happiness comes from within, not from external validation or comparison. When you fixate on the curated images of others' lives, you risk undervaluing your own unique path and the progress you have made. When you compare yourself to others, you overlook your own unique journey and strengths. You become so focused on what you lack that you fail to appreciate what you already have. This kind of thinking creates unnecessary stress and dissatisfaction, distracting you from living your best life. Instead of comparison, focus on self-awareness and gratitude. Each person's journey is different, shaped by unique circumstances and personal goals. Eliminating unnecessary comparison allows you to shift your focus inward and cultivate gratitude for your own experiences. Furthermore, comparing yourself to others often leads to unrealistic expectations. You may start striving for things that don't even align with your true desires simply because you see others achieving them. This creates a disconnect between what you genuinely want and what you think you should want. The Stoics emphasize the importance of knowing yourself and staying true to your own values rather than being swayed by external appearances. Eliminating comparison doesn't mean ignoring others' successes. It means acknowledging and respecting them without letting them dictate your self-worth. Quietly removing this habit from your life creates mental clarity and emotional freedom, allowing you to pursue your own path with confidence and purpose. Practice gratitude. Each day, take a moment to reflect on 3 things you are grateful for. Celebrate your progress. Instead of comparing yourself to others, compare your current self to your past self. Acknowledge your growth. Limit social media exposure. If scrolling through social media triggers feelings of inadequacy, take regular breaks or unfollow accounts that make you feel less than. Set personal goals. Focus on what matters to you. Set realistic personal goals based on your own values and priorities, not societal pressure. Number 3, too much social media. Social media can be a double-edged sword. While it connects us to the world and provides endless entertainment, it can also be a major source of distraction, anxiety, and comparison. Spending hours scrolling through curated feeds can leave us feeling unproductive, disconnected from real life, and even insecure about our own progress and achievements. The curated nature of social media often creates an illusion of perfection, making it easy to fall into the trap of measuring our worth against idealized versions of others' lives. This can lead to a sense of inadequacy, increased anxiety, and even depression. Moreover, excessive time spent on social media often replaces meaningful activities like exercise, hobbies, or real-world interactions. Engaging in these real-life pursuits helps us feel more grounded and present. Instead of doom-scrolling through endless posts, why not take a walk, hit the gym, or meet a friend for coffee? Physical activities like walking and working out not only improve our physical health, but also release endorphins, boosting our mood and mental clarity. Additionally, spending time with friends or loved ones in person fosters deeper, more authentic connections, which are vital for our emotional well-being. Beyond exercise and socializing, dedicating time to hobbies and creative outlets can also offer a sense of accomplishment and joy that social media simply can't replicate. Activities like reading, painting, journaling, or even cooking allow us to engage with the world in a more meaningful way, helping to cultivate a sense of purpose and inner peace. Instead of passively consuming content, these activities encourage active participation in life, which ultimately leads to greater personal satisfaction. If we can find a healthy balance and reduce our dependence on social media, we free up time to focus on what truly matters. Replacing endless scrolling with real-world engagement not only enhances our overall well-being, but also allows us to live more intentionally and authentically. Set screen time limits. Schedule offline time. Dedicate specific periods of your day to being offline and fully present. Replace scrolling with action. Whenever you feel the urge to scroll, replace it with a productive or meaningful activity such as reading, journaling, or exercising. Number 4. Eliminate unhealthy habits. Unhealthy habits come in many forms: poor sleep routines, overeating, lack of exercise, or overindulgence in things like drugs, alcohol, and explicit material. These habits offer temporary satisfaction, but often leave us feeling worse in the long run. They rob us of our energy, focus, and sense of purpose, creating a cycle that can be difficult to break. Over time, the negative effects compound, affecting not just your physical health, but also your emotional and mental well-being. Unhealthy habits often stem from a desire to seek comfort or escape from life's stresses. While they may provide short-term relief, they ultimately contribute to long-term dissatisfaction. Poor sleep, for instance, disrupts your body's natural rhythm, leaving you tired and unfocused throughout the day. Overeating or consuming unhealthy foods can lead to weight gain, low energy levels, and even health complications such as diabetes or heart disease. Similarly, overindulgence in substances like drugs or alcohol can lead to dependency, further reducing your quality of life and negatively impacting your relationships. Furthermore, these behaviors can spill over into other areas of life, affecting your work performance, social life, and overall well-being. Engaging in explicit material as a form of escapism can interfere with your emotional well-being and personal connections, creating unrealistic expectations and diminishing genuine experiences. These habits may offer a quick dopamine hit, but they rarely address the underlying issues, leading to a constant cycle of dissatisfaction and seeking more fleeting pleasure. Over time, this pursuit of instant gratification can erode your self-discipline, making it harder to cultivate healthier, more productive habits. The Stoics believed in moderation and self-discipline, emphasizing that true fulfillment comes from mastering one's desires rather than being ruled by them. They taught that enduring happiness is achieved not through indulgence, but through balance. By quietly eliminating or reducing unhealthy habits, you create space for healthier, more fulfilling alternatives that promote long-term well-being. Instead of chasing fleeting pleasure, you begin to develop routines that align with your goals and values, helping you build a more balanced and purposeful life. Practicing moderation allows you to enjoy life's pleasures without becoming enslaved by them. To replace unhealthy habits, start by identifying the underlying causes. Are you seeking distraction from stress, boredom, or deeper emotional pain? Are you trying to fill a void or numb uncomfortable emotions? Once you understand your triggers, you can develop healthier coping mechanisms such as exercise, meditation, or engaging in creative pursuits like art, music, or journaling. These activities not only help redirect your energy, but also provide long-term benefits for both your mind and body. In particular, physical exercise is a highly effective way to combat stress and improve mood, as it releases endorphins and enhances overall well-being. Surround yourself with a supportive environment that encourages positive change and holds you accountable. Friends, family, or even online communities focused on healthy living can provide the motivation and reinforcement you need to stay on track. Joining groups or challenges that promote healthier lifestyles can make the process more enjoyable and less daunting. Remember, change doesn't happen overnight. It requires patience, consistency, and a commitment to self-improvement. Set small, achievable goals to replace your unhealthy habits gradually. For example, if you struggle with poor sleep, start by creating a bedtime routine and limiting screen time before bed. Over time, these small changes will accumulate, leading to significant improvements in your overall health. It's also important to celebrate your victories, no matter how small they may seem. Recognizing your progress helps build momentum and keeps you motivated to continue making positive changes. Whether it's resisting an unhealthy snack or sticking to a workout routine for a week, every step forward is a win worth acknowledging. The journey to eliminating unhealthy habits may be challenging, but the rewards, increased energy, focus, and a deeper sense of purpose, are well worth the effort. Over time, you'll find that by letting go of these habits, you gain not only physical health, but also mental clarity, emotional balance, and a renewed sense of control over your life. As you build healthier routines, you'll develop greater resilience, better decision-making skills, and a stronger sense of self-worth. Remember, change doesn't happen overnight. It requires patience, consistency, and a commitment to self-improvement. The journey to eliminating unhealthy habits may be challenging, but the rewards, increased energy, focus, and a deeper sense of purpose, are well worth the effort. Ultimately, you are investing in a better, healthier version of yourself, one who is fully equipped to face life's challenges with strength and clarity. Identify your triggers. What situations or emotions lead you to engage in unhealthy habits? Once you know your triggers, you can work on avoiding or managing them. Replace bad habits with good ones. For example, replace late-night snacking with a relaxing evening routine, or replace screen time before bed with reading. Seek support. If certain habits are difficult to break, consider seeking professional help or joining a support group. Number 5. Eliminate excessive entertainment or spending consumption. In a world that constantly encourages us to buy more, watch more, and consume more, it's easy to fall into the trap of excessive consumption. Whether it's binge-watching TV shows, impulse shopping, or overeating, consuming too much without purpose leaves us feeling empty and dissatisfied. Excessive consumption can clutter not only your home, but also your mind. The Stoics valued simplicity and minimalism, believing that true happiness comes from needing less, not having more. Adopt minimalism, declutter your space, and keep only what adds value to your life. Practice mindful consumption. Before making a purchase or consuming content, ask yourself, is this adding value to my life? Set limits. Whether it's screen time, shopping, or eating, set clear boundaries to prevent overindulgence. Number 6. Negative self-talk. The way you speak to yourself matters profoundly. Negative self-talk, those harsh, critical thoughts that undermine your confidence and question your abilities, can be incredibly damaging to both your personal growth and overall well-being. It keeps you stuck in a recurring cycle of self-doubt, limiting your ability to take risks, explore new opportunities, and reach your full potential. Over time, this internal dialogue can erode your self-esteem and foster feelings of inadequacy. Negative self-talk often stems from deeply ingrained beliefs about failure, perfectionism, or a fear of not being good enough. These thoughts may feel automatic, but they aren't facts. They're just mental patterns that can be changed. The Stoics emphasized the importance of rational thinking and self-compassion. They believed that by challenging irrational thoughts and replacing them with more balanced, constructive perspectives, you could cultivate a healthier mindset. Eliminating negative self-talk doesn't mean ignoring your flaws or pretending everything is perfect. Instead, it means approaching yourself with kindness and understanding, just as you would a close friend. By doing so, you can develop a more positive and empowering inner dialogue, one that fuels growth rather than hinders it. With consistent practice, this shift in mindset can lead to greater confidence, resilience, and a stronger sense of self-worth. Challenge negative thoughts. Whenever you catch yourself thinking negatively, ask yourself, is this thought rational? Practice positive affirmations. Replace negative thoughts with affirmations that reinforce your worth and capabilities. Be kind to yourself. Treat yourself with the same kindness and understanding you would offer a friend. Number 7. Eliminate procrastination triggers. Procrastination isn't just about laziness. It's often a complex response to stress, overwhelm, or fear of failure. When faced with daunting tasks or high expectations, it's natural to seek temporary relief by avoiding the work altogether. Certain triggers, such as a cluttered workspace, digital distractions, or unrealistic expectations, can amplify these feelings and make procrastination more likely. A cluttered environment can overwhelm your senses, making it difficult to focus, while digital distractions, like constant notifications or social media, provide an easy escape from tasks that require effort. Unrealistic expectations, whether self-imposed or external, can lead to a fear of not meeting those standards, which only fuels the urge to put things off. By identifying and eliminating these triggers, you create an environment that supports focus, clarity, and productivity. This doesn't mean you need a perfect setup, just a space that minimizes distractions and promotes a sense of calm. Breaking tasks into smaller, manageable steps can also reduce feelings of overwhelm, making it easier to get started. The Stoics believed in taking action and not delaying what must be done, emphasizing that progress, however small, is better than inaction. They taught that by focusing on what is within our control, our effort, we can overcome the paralysis that procrastination often brings. Additionally, developing a habit of mindfulness can help you become more aware of when and why you're procrastinating. Mindfulness allows you to pause, assess your emotional state, and choose a more productive course of action. Over time, with practice, you can train yourself to face tasks head-on rather than avoid them. Remember, procrastination isn't a character flaw, It's a habit that can be changed through deliberate effort and self-awareness. Create a conducive environment. Keep your workspace clean and free from distractions. Break tasks into smaller steps. Overwhelm often leads to procrastination. Break large tasks into manageable chunks. Use the 2-minute rule. If something takes less than 2 minutes, do it immediately. Number 8. Eliminate excessive gossip. Gossiping may seem harmless, but it often breeds negativity and damages trust in ways that aren't immediately obvious. When people engage in gossip, they create a culture of judgment and criticism, fostering an environment where individuals feel unsafe to express themselves or be vulnerable. Beyond damaging your relationships with others, gossip can also harm your own self-image and personal integrity. Engaging in negative talk about others reflects poorly on your character, perpetuates a mindset of negativity, and encourages superficial judgments. Instead of focusing on meaningful personal growth, gossip keeps you anchored in pettiness, comparison, and trivial matters. Moreover, gossip has a ripple effect. The negative energy spreads and often comes back to harm the person who initiated it. It wastes valuable time that could be spent on more productive or uplifting conversations. Imagine the cumulative effect of redirecting that energy towards self-improvement, learning something new, or strengthening genuine connections. Over time, the absence of gossip in your life can bring noticeable peace and clarity. When you choose to focus on building others up rather than tearing them down, you foster a more positive environment, not only for yourself, but also for those around you. Eliminating gossip from your life not only improves the quality of your relationships, but also enhances your emotional well-being by reducing unnecessary drama, tension, and negativity. It helps cultivate trust, which is a foundational element of any meaningful relationship. Without the constant worry of what might be said behind one's back, people feel more secure and open, leading to stronger bonds and healthier communication. The Stoics believed that a wise person speaks only when it improves the silence, emphasizing the value of thoughtful, purposeful communication. By quietly eliminating gossip, you shift your focus toward conversations that matter, discussions that inspire growth, and dialogues that build understanding. Over time, you'll notice that your conversations become more meaningful, your relationships deepen, and your mind becomes less cluttered with trivial concerns. The result is a life enriched by genuine connection and personal integrity. In addition, by setting an example and refusing to engage in gossip, you influence those around you. People may initially find it difficult to change, but when they see the benefits of meaningful communication and positive interactions, they often follow suit. You become a catalyst for change, promoting a healthier, more respectful environment wherever you go. Ultimately, eliminating gossip isn't just about protecting your peace. It's about creating a ripple effect of positivity and trust in your personal and professional circles. Change the subject. If a conversation turns into gossip, steer it towards something more positive. Lead by example. Refuse to engage in gossip, and others may follow your lead. Focus on self-improvement. Instead of discussing others' flaws, work on improving your own character. Number 9. Eliminate overthinking. Overthinking drains your mental energy and creates unnecessary anxiety, making even simple decisions feel overwhelming. When you overanalyze every situation or decision, you get stuck in a loop of indecision, self-doubt, and second-guessing. This mental loop often prevents you from taking action, as you become paralyzed by the fear of making the wrong choice. Instead of moving forward, you remain trapped in endless hypothetical scenarios that rarely, if ever, come to fruition, causing missed opportunities and increased stress. Over time, this habit of overthinking can erode your confidence and leave you feeling mentally exhausted. It can also negatively impact your relationships, as constantly dwelling on what others might think or say creates unnecessary tension. The inability to trust your own judgment can lead to excessive reassurance seeking, which can strain even the closest relationships. Additionally, overthinking can rob you of the ability to enjoy the present moment, as your mind is always preoccupied with analyzing the past or worrying about the future. This robs you of simple joys and moments of peace that life has to offer. The Stoics teach us to focus only on what we can control and let go of the rest. They emphasized that much of life is beyond our control, and worrying about those aspects is futile. By eliminating overthinking, you free your mind to focus on what truly matters: your actions, your effort, and your response to challenges. Letting go of the need to control every outcome allows you to embrace life with greater clarity and calm. You start to see that overthinking rarely changes the outcome. Instead, it only serves to delay progress and cause unnecessary mental anguish. Furthermore, practicing mindfulness can help you stay grounded and present, reducing the tendency to overthink. By anchoring yourself in the present, you cultivate a sense of peace and improve your ability to make clear, confident decisions without getting lost in endless analysis. Regular mindfulness exercises, such as deep breathing or short meditative breaks, can gradually train your mind to let go of over-analysis. Additionally, practicing self-compassion can help you break free from the harsh inner critic that fuels overthinking. When you approach yourself with kindness and understanding, you begin to trust your ability to navigate life's uncertainties. Remember, clarity comes not from overthinking, but from action and trust in your ability to handle whatever comes next. Taking small steps toward your goals, even if they aren't perfect, helps build momentum and confidence. Over time, as you practice letting go of unnecessary mental chatter, you will find it easier to focus on what truly matters and live a more peaceful, intentional life. Set time limits for decisions. Give yourself a set amount of time to make a decision and then commit to it. Practice mindfulness. Stay present and grounded through mindfulness exercises like deep breathing or meditation. Ask, is this within my control? If it's not, let it go. Number 10. Eliminate the fear of failure. Once you eliminate the fear of failure, you free yourself. Fear of failure holds many people back from pursuing their goals and dreams, often resulting in missed opportunities, unfulfilled potential, and a lingering sense of regret. This fear can manifest in various ways, such as perfectionism, procrastination, or even complete avoidance of challenges. People may hesitate to take risks because they are afraid of judgment, disappointment, or the discomfort that comes with not succeeding on the first try. This avoidance, however, only reinforces the fear, creating a cycle that becomes increasingly difficult to break. Fear of failure is not inherently irrational. It stems from a natural desire to protect oneself from harm, embarrassment, or rejection. However, allowing this fear to dictate your choices leads to stagnation. The Stoics viewed failure not as something to fear, but as an inevitable part of life and a crucial component of personal development. They believed that every failure holds a valuable lesson that, when embraced, contributes to greater resilience and wisdom. Reframing failure as a stepping stone rather than a setback enables you to approach life with curiosity and confidence. Eliminating the fear of failure allows you to take bold action, experiment with new ideas, and embrace life's challenges without being paralyzed by the possibility of falling short. When you learn to see failure as feedback rather than a final verdict on your worth, you become more open to growth and innovation. You also develop the ability to recover quickly from setbacks, which is a hallmark of successful individuals in any field. Moreover, Taking action despite the fear of failure builds mental strength and fortitude. Each time you face your fear and persevere, you develop a sense of self-efficacy, the belief in your ability to overcome obstacles and achieve meaningful results. Over time, this mindset shift can lead to a more adventurous, fulfilling life, where setbacks are seen not as roadblocks, but as valuable opportunities to learn and improve. This approach fosters a growth-oriented mindset, where continuous improvement becomes more important than avoiding mistakes. To further combat the fear of failure, it's helpful to adopt a long-term perspective. When you view your efforts as part of a lifelong journey rather than isolated events, individual failures lose their power to define you. The Stoics emphasized focusing on effort rather than outcome, understanding that while outcomes are often beyond our control, the effort we put in is always within our power. By focusing on what you can control, your actions and your attitude, you shift your attention away from fear and toward meaningful progress. Ultimately, embracing failure as a natural and necessary part of life opens the door to greater personal freedom. Without the constant worry of failing, you can pursue your passions, take creative risks, and live authentically. Overcoming the fear of failure doesn't mean you won't experience setbacks. It means you will have the courage to keep moving forward, knowing that every experience, whether successful or not, contributes to your growth. Reframe failure. Instead of seeing failure as the end, view it as a stepping stone to success. Take small risks. Build your confidence by taking small risks and learning from the outcomes. Focus on effort, not outcome. The Stoics emphasized that while we cannot control the outcome, we can control our effort. Focus on what you can do and let go of the rest. By eliminating these 10 things from your life, you create space for clarity, peace, and purpose. The journey may not be easy, but it's worth it. As the Stoics remind us, true freedom comes not from acquiring more, but from needing less. So, start small. Choose one thing from this list and begin the process of quietly letting go. Over time, you'll find that life becomes lighter, more meaningful, and more aligned with your true self.